Many African countries, the men are known to be the provider for the family. So
what you mentioned earlier, couples need to be able to work it out. And when I say work it out, what works for the goose may not work for the gander.
Exactly.
So it's about...
Beauté! Qu'est-ce?
Hello.
Maïga, bonjour, bienvenue à Qu'est-ce qu'on mange à midi. Alors, on est vraiment ravis encore de vous retrouver pour ce nouvel épisode. Welcome to Qu'est-ce qu'on mange à midi. What do we eat at lunch? Today, we are here for another episode. If you're new here, welcome in the community. Qu'est-ce qu'on mange à midi? It's a podcast where we share and discuss about life's experience as immigrant here. We discuss with friends and guests about the things we wish we had learned before, whether it's when we were at university, in the workplace, or if in life in general, because we believe that the decisions that we take today are going to affect what we're going to eat at lunch tomorrow on our lives. Welcome again for this new episode. Today we have two amazing guests and I'm really excited to have them today. So quickly, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Welcome Damilola, welcome Ebenezer.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure to have you here. So continuing from the theme of On Love, we want to share the inspiring journey of a couple that has immigrated here in New Brunswick, and knowing them a little bit, they have really an amazing story and I can't wait for you guys to share it. So just take the time to like, to subscribe if you haven't done it yet, and we are about to start. So we're gonna start first and foremost with just, who is Damilola, who is Ebenezer, who are you, want to start, want to go ahead, so up to you guys.
Well, yes, I'm Damilola Ajibade, the beautiful wife of Ebenezer. At least he tells me so.
a mom of two handsome, fantastic boys. I am an amplifier. I love to tell stories about immigrants as well, newcomers. And I work as a business navigator currently.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ebenezer, and I'm excited to be here. First of all, I would say that I'm an impactor. That's what I would call myself. I'm the founder of PhD Consulting. I'm an industrial education provider with the International Institute of Business Analysis. I'd also call myself a techpreneur, and I also like to help immigrants succeed in their career journeys. And beyond that as well, I'm also a counselor, not only in career, but also in relationships. So I'm excited to be here alongside my wife, and let's get it rolling.
Okay, thanks. We're starting very well. So we have very good guests for you today. And we're gonna just jump right from the start. So when have you guys immigrated here in New Brunswick, and what was the story? What's kind of the story behind? What's the journey of the Ajibade family to New Brunswick?
Interesting.
Okay,
Want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first.
So we arrived here in New Brunswick in May of 2018. We've moved around a lot, we have moved around a lot. We started our journey in New Brunswick from Fredericton. We've lived in St. John, and then we decided to settle down in Moncton, where we've been for a couple of years now. I guess the story of us coming had to do with him. I first wanted to immigrate. I used to talk about it, and I actually took some steps, but nothing really happened until he decided that, listen, I think it's time that we made this move, and the rest today, they say, is history.
Yeah.
Okay, just to add to what my wife already said, it's been an interesting journey talking about moving to New Brunswick in Canada. Well, the backstory, to be honest, is I'm that kind of professional or individual who wants more. So, when I looked at the landscape of, my trajectory in terms of career in Nigeria, and I'd said to myself, I think I want more, probably want to work with the big tech companies. And I also said to myself, well, there's this, the whole holding a green passport, having to go get visas and things like that. And I said to myself, there has to be more, because this happened to one of my mentors back home. Very profound, gentle man, a solid impactor, and he speaks at big events and all of that. When he invites you to his speaking events, he will probably charge you about 5 million naira, back then. And I realized that in the story, he mentioned the fact that he was at the airport traveling, and then he brought out a green passport, and it was a bit of move into that room, people with this type of green passports, So I used to wonder about those kind of things, over and beyond doing more. That was the backstory for me. And my wife wanted to try it, but I was like, I don't want to leave my comfort zone here. I'm already doing well with my career. But I was in a forum one day, and that was the day it clicked. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stop at this until I get to Canada. So that's how the story and the journey actually began. So here we are today.
Okay, that's beautiful. So that's like the immigration and career journey. And now, so since we're here to talk a bit about the family and love story, so want to ask you guys, since how long have you been married before coming to New Brunswick, Canada?
We had been married for about 7 to 8 years.
Okay.
I would say 8 years. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So you moved here, you already have kids. How many kids?
2.
Okay, 2. So you moved kind of as a family. So that must have been a whole shift, it's not the same culture.
Absolutely.
There's winter, everything. So
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges that you've experienced before moving and when you arrived here in New Brunswick?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start by saying that we lived in the most populous city in Nigeria, the city of Lagos, where you have close to about 10 million people living. And it was busy getting to work. You'd have to commute for about 2 hours to get to your workplace, which meant that you have to consider dropping off kids in daycare, dropping them off in school, and then having to get to your work on time, and then having to commute back home and having some time to get to see the kids. Most of the time, for him, he used to work late hours, and he hated driving in traffic. So sometimes I'd be like, I want us to commute together because we hardly had time to spend together, and our commute time in traffic was kind of like our bonding time. We get to share things. We even did prayers. I remember when we were planning to come into Canada, we had the Get Ready to Move to Canada book, and we read it from first page to last page during our commutes to work.
Wow.
Yeah, we studied each page, and then we'll discuss about everything. That's how much time we get to spend commuting to work. So it was very challenging having to spend time with the kids. Of course, our kids were pretty young at the time. And I know that one of the kids, he would usually be so fagged out by the time he gets out to school because he has to be up and out. He's out of the house from 6:30 a.m. in the morning. And then getting back home. So he's also tired. So most of the time we get back home and he's already in bed. Plus, we also had the support system back home in Nigeria. We had, my sister-in-law was living with us. We had a house help in the house, living in the house as well. So we had that support system where we could be away at work and still have someone back home. And then so having to come into Canada, moving to Canada without the support system, and then it seemed like the time, the commute time within New Brunswick, we say generally it's an average of 15 minutes. So you get back home and then we're like, okay, what next? What do you do? We've never had that kind of life where you get out to work and then you get back home, the kids are back home from school midday, and then you're wondering what next? How do you spend the day? So there were the challenges of having to adjust, and then it felt like we were also getting to know each other all over again because there were parts of each other that we weren't really seeing, because the kids are almost in bed or probably in bed when we get back from school, and then they weren't also really, we're just used to spending the weekends with them most of the time. So there was that adjustment and that shift of, okay, let's get to spend more of our time together. What are the things we can do together to grow together? And yeah, I think that was like the major shock in terms of family for me, plus not having the support system, because getting back home, I don't get to do laundry back home in Nigeria because I have that everything goes into the laundry basket and the housemaid helps with all of that. most of the cooking, I just do like base cooking. I know I don't go shopping. I mean, I would do major shopping. Sometimes I would contract my shopping out and then get the housemaid to prepare the things. And then, coming here, you have to go do the shopping by yourself. You have to do everything from scratch by yourself. Spending that time here now with the kind of food, the meals that we have as Africans, sometimes I could be in the kitchen on my feet for about 3 hours, just having to do meal preps for the week.
Exactly.
So it was a huge cultural shift for me. So yeah, I think those are just some that come to mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I think in addition to that as well, I think one of the challenges we kind of faced, we had the support back home, but one of the challenges we faced was the fact that, you have to take kids to daycare and things like that. And then there was one particular incident that I would say that, happened to one of our younger sons. Yeah. He was suspended from the daycare. So the question was, we were working, both of us. The question was, where's the support system? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
I literally cried when they asked me to take him away. I couldn't call her and I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't take him into work. So it was a moment of, wait a minute, this.
What's happening?
So those are some of the challenges. I remember throwing a little party when he turned 5 and stopped going to take care. I'm like, okay, yeah. So it's just it's a different ball game altogether, And talking about, back home, there was the commute time, we spend in traffic and all of that. And I think one of the things for me is that, of course, very early I'm out and I don't come back till late. Because driving in traffic was like a pet peeve for me. So I technically developed that, after work, what's next? I was already in the very workaholic department back at work. I used to work with the telco, and back then, we had all the PS4s and different games. We would even have dinner in the office before we go back home. So I was very used to 15 minutes, and I drive 15 minutes from the office home at 11:30 p.m. and I preferred it. So it's just a different ballgame altogether. But having to come here, being able to spend the time with the kids, commute time for one spot to another spot is 15 minutes. I think it's really exciting, and I'm really grateful for that.
Okay, that's good, definitely. So what are some of the challenges as couple that you kind of have to face when coming here, because we kind of sing that together. It's feel like, and Damilola, sure, if you haven't see the live that she made, we're gonna share the link in the bio, so please take the time in the description to look at that. You did a live with a marriage coach, talking about love in the diaspora and some of the challenges, because it's kind of, we see that some of the couples in the community that have immigrated together, there's a lot of divorces and separation. But what are some of the challenges that you guys experience as couple, and what help you kind of go further than those challenges and still stay together?
Okay, I think I'll start. I'll pick up from the instance he gave about daycare. That was something that shook me to my bones. Like, my emotions had never been tried since I arrived here in Canada that much. So it was, our son was just 3 years old at the time, and he was being suspended from daycare 2 different occasions for things that we term as being a child. Like, for example, saying that a child jumped on the back of his teacher. We do that to him at home. He gets to ride on our back, we do play pony and things like that. But then he tried to do that in daycare, and he was asked to leave for like 3 days. And at the time, I had just started to work. It was extremely challenging. It was so emotional for me. I didn't know how to. I actually cried, and I had to leave my first job because I needed to be home to be there with my child. That is one of the areas that I find that couples struggle with here. Should one person work and should the other person stay back at home? Can they manage with the finances? Can they support the family? Here in Canada, everything speaks bills. I tell people back home in Nigeria, everything speaks bills. You are earning, they may say, oh, well, you earn a lot. Well,
You spend a lot.
yes, you do spend a lot. Everything goes back into your bills. So when you talk about finances, it's one major issue that, that couples find very challenging and are able to manage. And he told me, he said, you know what, I'm going to cover that gap. And he said, go stay back until we find something that can accommodate. We need to pull our son out of this daycare. They are not helping him to integrate into the system. They don't really understand him, and we don't want him to grow up developing that, low self-esteem about the fact that he's not wanted in a particular place. And so we had to communicate together as a couple and decide how we wanted to work and how we wanted to do it. At the time, he was working late hours. He was working long hours. He was working like past midnight. Wow. And then there was also the aspect of us sharing one vehicle and deciding, how would we split the vehicle? He needs to use the vehicle from like afternoon till middle of the night. Do I get to come and pick him? So there were some of these challenges that we see where it seems like, one person needs to step down for the other person to continue their career. And that is one major area, apart from the finances, where I find that couples struggle with. People who hadn't been working from home, maybe in Nigeria, decide that, well, I'm now in Canada. I want to start a career. I want to do something. And maybe a spouse is like, well, I will cover up that gap. I want you to be there, train the children. But people are like, you know what? I want to, my husband always says it's women empowerment. Now, in Canada, people have come to discover that they are so empowered. And so they just feel like, you know what? I'm going to exhaust the whole stretch of that opportunity to be empowered. And many times I want to think that they probably don't consider the family, they don't consider the children. And something that came up during the live talk that we had yesterday with the marriage coach was also speaking on the women empowerment thing. It appears that, which is good, that in Canada, there is a lot of, enablement for women to be comfortable as much as possible. And so in a case where a marriage is experiencing struggle, where there's abuse, for example, wherever they notice that, they tend to ask the man to leave the house. And so it now happens that women coming from other cultures, coming from outside of Canada, now come in and realize that, I have that much power.
I have the power.
Exactly. Well, if I report this and the police get to hear that the man has done this particular thing, I can call them and they can ask him to leave the house. And there are certain things. We'll take the child benefit, for example. I remember when we were applying and my husband, he did all the paperwork. I have to give him that kudos.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Ebenezer.
He did all the paper. It was a lot of paperwork when we were immigrating into Canada because the applications then were still paper-based applications. And it was a lot of paperwork, a lot. And he did all of that. And then we arrived, at that time when we arrived, I'd already gotten very lazy about doing any paperwork. So when it was time for us to apply for child benefit, I just told him, hey, they said we have to apply for this thing.
The paperwork.
And he did it gracefully. However, when it was time for us to, fill out certain areas and who was going to be benefiting and the account number, where they were going to be paying to, it all referred to the woman. And he was like, they said you are the one who is going to earn this and who is going to benefit.
I actually called in. You asked to call, and then I called in, and they were like, "Oh, where's your language? She's fine. She's at work or something." And I'm like, "No, if we don't speak to her, we can't go ahead." So I was like, "What's that?"
So I'm not counting here.
That was like a bit of a shock for me. I'm like, well, you know what? Speak to them. I don't even want to know about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are areas where, for us, coming from a country where support like this was not available, it was like a shock. And back home in Africa, many African countries, the men are known to be the provider for the family. So in this case, a woman is the one receiving the child benefit, and if she's working, she's getting that as well, with in addition to the benefits. And so these are areas where couples that don't have an understanding begin to struggle it out. They begin to have that challenge as to, do we split the child benefits?
Exactly.
Do we get the child benefits? Like how do we manage that? Yeah, you are getting more and I'm also getting this. No, now it becomes, and then talking about the fact that we were hearing some questions from the live and from one other show that we had tuned into on marriage, and someone was asking that in Canada, is it okay for men to still contribute to women's allowances for their hair, for their nails, their makeup, going to the spa, and things like that. And it just lets you know that mind shift has not yet happened. Like in Canada, you have to find a way to work it out such that the family is settled and comfortable enough. One has to come to that agreement. And I think that's where a lot of couples might be having some challenges, where they haven't decided that, how are we going to work this out? Is it okay if you do this? How open do we want to be with our finances? What chores in the house? That's something else. What chores in the house? In Nigeria or in many African countries, I don't want to speak about other African countries, my background or our background, as I mentioned, because we had a live-in house help, I didn't do as many house chores. And he didn't even get to know about how house chores were done. It wasn't even an issue of, did he get involved in helping out with the house chores? He didn't even know.
Finding everything clear.
Exactly.
It's beautiful, it's not.
In Nigeria, you would finish up your meal and your dishes would be cleared, and it's all taken. But now, yes, there's the dishwashers and stuff like that, but there are still some other things so we have to decide and we have to speak about it. And I'm like, babe, if you're going to, you have to stay with me while I do some of this. You have to, so just speaking through all the different phases, I think that's for us. We've been able to speak through everything. We started up as friends. We still have that relationship as friends. So we're able to speak as friends. Even our kids see us fool around. They see us play around, like tease ourselves. We joke about certain things. And so we have that relationship, and that's what we have carried into our life here in Canada. That's how we've succeeded.
And also adding to what you mentioned earlier, couples need to be able to work it out. And when I say work it out, what works for the goose may not work for the gander.
Exactly.
So it's about knowing your own strengths and weaknesses and what works for you. Are you able to create that strategy? Otherwise, someone who felt, I'm the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, back home comes here and still thinks, I'm the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Yeah, and in that kind of instance, he gets here, he doesn't get a job. And the woman now gets a job.
And she's paid better. Yeah.
And the mindset and the ego will be the blocker. The bigger the ego, the bigger the problem.
Exactly.
So that's another thing that, couples need to be able to, and honestly, this is a very crucial thing that happens a lot amongst immigrants, especially in Canada here. And that's why we see a lot of, breakdowns in marriage and things like that. So it's being able to kind of deflate that ego and being able to work, in partnership and in collaboration with your spouse. That makes a lot of difference, and it also helps the kids either way. So that's just one thing actually we need to actually put out there too.
I really love that. I think from what you guys have shared, really thank you for so much wisdom here. I hope you guys are listening to it very well and taking notes. But I really love the fact that you mentioned the friendship. Because I think having started as a couple with the friendship and still having it, and it's really beautiful. I know my parents, it's something that really inspired me from the couple too. But the friendship and the communication, because the different issues that you mentioned there, it's really about the communication, and communication is key in life, simply because if we not communicate, we're gonna assume that this is gonna be done in a certain way, and if it's not done, then that's where the little mouses enter, and then it starts getting the problems and everything.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really key. So they mentioned finances, they mentioned also the chores, they mentioned also how we taking care of the kids, and also the career. And I just want us, before we finish here, to speak a bit about career, because you both mentioned that, and I, knowing you a bit, I'm also seeing, they're really advanced. Those are people who inspire us in this life. And how did you guys manage? You mentioned that you stay at home when you are right there for a while, but after that, okay, what happened then? Before that, go now to be a business navigator, and you started business analyst. So what happened? What were some of the key decisions that you guys did to shift back, to kind of, once the family was settled, to go further in your careers?
Okay. Yeah. I think I'll just start off with this one. So first of all, it's important for couples to actually really know themselves, their strengths and weaknesses. And when I say strength and weaknesses, in all ramifications, even in career, you know what? You are the better deal. Let's put you forward, and then you go get that for the family. It doesn't matter who, either the man or the woman.
I like that.
But the man with the big ego from back home would have a little problem with that, And honestly, back home actually, by the way, back home, I mean, my wife was really doing pretty well. She has like a managerial role and things like that. I mean, I'm some kind of guy where those type of things, they don't really freak me, And when I say that, I mean, I understand that, and that's that. But here, it's a different ballgame, There was literally a period in our lives where we don't even sleep on the same bed every day for 6 months. So as I'm coming in, she's going out.
Wow.
Yeah, or she's coming in. I think she works night, and then I work day. That's it. And somebody has to be with the kids. So, and these are interesting and tough periods of our lives, that people actually don't know, but they just see everything is working. But it's all about that collaboration. It's all about that understanding. It's all about being able to kind of support each other. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's I think that's really the key. Yeah. And also looking out for the good in the other person. Yeah. And talk about career. I mean, I'll typically motivate her. You know what? We got to do this. And we're getting there, right? So
people get inspired, please.
Yeah. So one doesn't want to have that. I don't want my wife to do better than me. No, it's not a competition.
Thank you.
It's for the talk about two incomes. It's family income, right? Your tax are based on family income, so it is for the family. Put your best foot forward. That's the model. Yeah. If the man is the best foot forward, fine. If the woman is the best foot forward, let's put it forward. So that's exactly the way that should really work. So talk about career. People need to understand their skill sets. So I don't want to put on my career coach hat here, but it might also be very important.
If it's important, just put it. Just wear it.
A lot of people come from outside of Canada, thinking that things are just exactly the same. No, they need to know, what are the skill sets that I have? It is beyond, go do that certification or go do this certification. It's beyond that.
Yeah.
How do you demonstrate that you have those skill sets?
Exactly.
And what are the other adjoining skill sets or transferable skills you can bring from back home in terms of your experience?
Exactly.
I usually cite a little example of, David. Apologies to people who probably are not Christians here. So I tell them that in the story, he was not trained to be a soldier. But what happened? He was able to demonstrate his transferable skills. I killed a bear. I killed the lion. Oh yeah, so I can do this as well. And that was it.
Yeah.
And before he said Jack Robinson, what did they do? They gave him the armor of a soldier. They go and fight. And he did it. And that's what a lot of immigrants actually struggle with. You have transferable skills in you that you just need to be able to leverage and be guided by a coach, and then you're there. And this is what I do for people, yeah? And I tell them, once upon a time, I was like you. Right now, I'm a thought leader. I can show you how this is done. So talk about career. I mean, that's really the way to actually get it done. So I probably want to jump in.
Yeah, very, very profound that he mentioned all that. I want to go back to the very beginning, to where we started from, because it's interesting, this whole career coaching thing. He's always been like that. And I think that was what got us connected. We met at the workplace. And we met at the workplace. And, the way he saw me, he just felt like, this is someone, she's unique. She stands out of the pack here.
Hey, unique ladies. Thank you. You need to stand up.
Yeah, so he identified certain things about me, and he was like, I want to mentor this person. Don't limit yourself to where you are. You can keep going. We were just friends at the time. We weren't even dating or anything. It was much later, years later, that we reconnected. But there was always that thing. He was someone that I could go to, I could speak to, in terms of career. And like he mentioned, I was really doing well in my career, where I was in a path where I was growing pretty well. And I just got to Canada, and all of a sudden I had that, fear about, can I do this? This is a different environment, and I was able to speak to him, and he was able to guide me, like he mentioned. And that's something that might be affecting, couples a lot, is the fact that people struggle with, like the insecurity of, is this person going to do better than me? Does this person have the potential to do better than me? He never saw that. He always kept pushing me. In fact, sometimes he'll tell me, I don't like what pace you're on right now. I think you should be doing better than this.
Wow.
You should be doing more than this. Yeah, that's why. And so he's been a coach, not just to so many people. He's also been a coach. Yeah, he's been a coach to me as well, and he keeps guiding. He understands, like he mentioned a lot about skill sets, and knowing the skill sets, recognizing those skill sets, and helping to guide that direction. So a lot of what I do, I have a cheerleader. I have somebody who is, cheering me on and saying that actually by now you should move from this level, and you should be doing this. You should be, you're in a global space now. You should be trying to attract this and all of that. And I think that is one thing, being able to trust. He also mentioned understanding, knowing who your partner is, understanding them, understanding what their skill sets are, and then encouraging one another. And that right now we are both at that stage where we're collaborating now. We realized that, okay, there is PhD consulting, there is the Journey Amplified, there is Clicks by Dami. What can the Journey Amplified do for PhD consulting? How can we collaborate? How can we help each other to project better visibility and all of that? So yeah, that's where we are at right now.
That's beautiful, collaboration aspect. There's so much nuggets shared here, people. I don't know, just take the time to really listen to it. So just to end here, so two things. First, I would like you guys to share advice for couples that are either looking to immigrate or are here right now and are facing some challenges. So what can you speak to them? And after that, I would like you to actually give a bit of advice for yourself. What will you have said if you if you have Damilola and Ebenezer that arrive here, freshly in Canada? What will you have to say to them at that time? So those are the two pieces to end.
Okay, I think first of all, for me, first things first, I would want to say that for any couple trying to immigrate into Canada, the first thing you need to be able to do is to what? Mindset reset. That's it. Reset that mind. Once you reset that mind in all the areas, you will definitely succeed. You're doing well at home. You are a director, you're a senior manager, you work in a bank, you're in a high position. You're coming here. Canada is going to humble you. So you need to be ready to get humbled. I remember the conversation I had with one of my C-level executives, when I told them, I'm going to be going to Canada, I was like, oh, great, fantastic. Also, you've been planning this all the while. I'm like, yeah. Okay, so it's come through now, fantastic. So he thought that I was going to, go with my family and come back. I'm like, no, I'm actually going to resign. That was when he jolted him, like, really? You're going to resign? I'm like, yeah, I'm prepared for this. And it's all about having information, which is the second thing I'll talk about. Have information and reset your mind. back home is not here. You need to know what obtains here. You need to know how it works. Connect yourself with the right people. That's the third thing. Nugget. Connect yourself with the right people. There are some people who pick you up from the airport and will tell you that, oh, I work at Walmart, or when I first came, I used to work at Walmart. You know, you need to first of all do a blue-collar job before you can ever rise. That's how it works here. That's a big lie.
Thank you for sharing that.
Some people, like myself, will pick you up at the airport and I'll tell you, you can do better than me if you do X, Y, Z. That's what I do to people. So those three things for me are critical. And in terms of also how to be able to succeed here, or for couples that are probably having challenges, I would want to say that as well. Reset that mind. Leave the cultural mindset of, oh, the man is always the provider. The man is always the head. The man must be richer. Leave that mindset and put your best foot forward. You want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to add on to that you can never go wrong with research. I'll say 3: research, research, research. There are the likes of podcasts like this that are bringing out stories of the life of immigrants here in Canada that you can listen to help research, to get information. The Journey Amplified, amplifying the journeys of immigrants and newcomers. I have a lot of people who reach out to me and be like, oh, Dami, thank you so much. I watched one of your episodes or something an Instagram live that you did with someone. And that was when I was able to identify that there were some schools in New Brunswick that I could come to. You can never go wrong with research. For Ebenezer, he decided from Nigeria that he was going to continue on the career as a business analyst. He was actually training a set of people in a classroom when he heard about business analysis being a key area that was needed in Canada. And he decided that, you know what, I'm going to come there and I'm going to excel. I'm going to follow this path. I would just say that, you know, I wasn't as definite or specific with my career to say that this is what I want to do in terms of my career. I felt like, oh, let me come test the waters first and then see what opportunities lie there. You research, listen to people. Like he mentioned, there are people that will tell you that you can succeed just as you come into the country. Just do a lot of research. What do I need? How? Where should I be? Who should I be speaking to? There are coaches like Ebenezer that you can speak to coach you on that preparation. So I would just continue to say that research is what I want to leave it with.
Okay. And so what would be the advice that you would like to share with the newly arrived Damilola and Ebenezer and their family in New Brunswick?
Well, I think I'll say it again. People need to be able to have the right information, connect with the right people, right? And also have a way to reset your mind and have an open mind. I think that's the last thing I'll probably just say here. You need to have an open mind. A lot of people just believe that, oh, I'm in this profession and that's it. You know, just the way the system actually believes that, oh, you're trained as a lawyer, that's the only thing you can do. You're trained as a doctor, that's the only thing you can do. You're trained as a procurement officer, that's the only thing you can do. You can actually pivot. So keep an open mind. And there are adjoining skill sets that you can actually leverage on. Maybe you're back home, you're working as a tech professional. You can dabble into professions like project management or even business analysis. And there's a whole lot more. So it's for you to actually be able to keep an open mind and roll with the right people with information, and that will take you to the top, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I will add on there to say failure is not the end of a journey. I like to say that it's just a diversion. And it's a way of understanding one of the ways that cannot work while you're on a journey. It's never anything to deter anyone. Coming into a new environment can be challenging. There's the cultural shock. There's the shock of attending interviews or getting into a new environment or a new work environment. It's always take every opportunity as an opportunity to learn. I mean, if one fails on a particular path, it does not label that person as a failure. It's just to say that, well, this is one way that this cannot work, and take every opportunity as a learning point. Never be discouraged. I would like to use this opportunity also to say that for some people, it might be the first time for them to relate with a person of color or from wherever country is that you're coming from. Not all experiences may be racist or, may be termed as, racism experience and things like that. Like he said, keep an open mind. It's an opportunity to, first of all, let people know who you are, how you can do certain things, and give that opportunity for growth. Not to term yourself, nobody is a failure. We are who we are, whether you're a person of color, whether you're Caucasian, it doesn't matter. We are who we are, and we come with our own unique skills. There's nobody that has the exact same skill, the different unique things that make us us. We are all unique, and we all bring something to the table.
That's a beautiful way of ending. Keep an open mind and being like always look for opportunities to learn. If you've come this far, put that in the comment. Open mind and learning, put that in the comments. Well, thank you, Ebenezer. Thank you, Damilola. It was such a pleasure. I think I'm going to invite Ebenezer back for a coaching episode here because we need it, especially students. I think we're going to plan that. Don't worry. We're going to plan that.
That'll be great.
Yeah, no, thanks again. And thanks, everyone. We're going to put the links for either, contact Ebenezer. If you need a coach, you will need a coach. So don't worry. You will have the link in the description, and also to all the platform of Damilola, because she also have an amazing platform, the John Amplify, that I will encourage you to follow. But in the meantime, please share in the comments what you think about this episode. Share it also with people that you know might benefit from what we've shared here. And until the next episode, bon appétit!